different characters that you meet. You know, mashallah. I've been to plenty of places in America, but I find that whenever I'm closer to my kind of like community, I feel much more comfortable, with all due respect to other communities. But I just find here, subhanAllah, the atmosphere in Dearborn here is very electrifying. It's very nice. Honestly, he's very lucky to have this, you know, this type of environment, and the people and the different cultures and the different people from different countries. And mashallah, it's like you go anywhere you want. Unlike Sydney, like it kind of gets a bit more exciting in the month of Shahr Ramadan, but still, you know, you can get to the morning here, like, you know, there's most of the shops here are still open, and my God, the variety of you, the variety, we wish. So it's, yeah, next question. Anyone want to ask a question of the table? Yeah, sorry.
Sayyid, what inspired you to take the route into Islamic studies and serve the communities around the world?
Thank you, brother, and Sheikh was Sayyed, is it? Saleh. Believe it or not, I was kind of forced into it. So, you know, they do like any other Lebanese parents would do, you know, pray, fast, and that. But they used to do what other Lebanese people do, you know, the weddings and all the other stuff. But subhanAllah, I think the biggest point of my life is when I got married. So there was a battle. I wasn't, you can say I wasn't a stray person. I never, you know, try to do anything haram, but growing in the area where I was, there wasn't many Lebanese people starters off. Believe it or not, most of my friends were actually Italian, Greeks and Spanish. I never used to associate much with the Lebanese community. But to cut the story short, when I decided, because, you know, like every other single youth person, when I used to go out and with these people, I saw the emptiness. Like, you know, like it felt happy going out with them, but then I would come back to my own bedroom and I'd be sitting up staring at the wall. So I said, what? It was like a drug addict. You know, you get the big hit and you're all happy, and then it's a straight fall down. So I thought to myself, I need to change. And of course, being male and I need to fight the shahwa, I thought the best thing I could do is get married. Like, even though I wasn't thinking about marriage, the best thing I do is get married. I just, you know, I used to go to a shop where my sister worked, and, you know, I met my wife from there, and but that's okay.
You sure?
Yeah. But what inspired me is that when I went to Hajj, I met the children of the late Sheikh Fahd Mehdi ElSayed. Sheikh Fahd Mehdi ElSayed was the person that established Shi'ism in Australia. And he's, of course, so his son, Haj Mufid, when he saw me, that I was like a yatim. Even when I went to go to Hajj, I got married, and my told my parents I'm going to go to Hajj, they flipped it. They were, are you serious? You've got a loan, you just, you know, started your life. How could you go to Hajj? I said, I need to go to Hajj. I need some spiritual uplift. So I still remember 2 days before I was going to go to Hajj, my parents didn't believe I was going to go to Hajj. You know, and then I just went. In Hajj, I met Haj Mufid, the Mehdis, and I met another family, which was Al-Qadhimi family. And when I came back to Australia, I got introduced to a Ja'fari association. And Sheikh Fahd, rahmatullah alayh, he saw how much I needed help. Like, even my Arabic was weak, my understanding of religion was weak. And he took me under his wing and he helped me. And through, like, I'm only like dissecting the story, but through Sayyed Fadhel, subhanAllah, God opened up a way for me to meet the mudarrisis, to meet the Qazwinis, to meet the ulama of the world, just through one door. And then, you know, I used to go and listen to a lot of speeches. Back in Wollongong where I live, there was only a small Islamic center. We had a house. So one of them suggested to me, why don't you give, you know, do you have English programs? I said, no, we don't have English programs. Why don't you speak? I said, I've never spoken in my life. Never. And he said, but, you know, start, you know, slowly, Sayyid, you know, they need people like you. I said, plus, you know, I'm from the community, I grew up with them. How are they going to look up to me? You have to start somewhere. I remember I used to write on, you know, back on school, I used to write on those white paper notepad things, and I would write notes down. And my Arabic wasn't strong, so I would listen to an Arabic speech, and it would take me about 6 hours, 6 hours to translate it from English, from Arabic to English, and that way actually improved my Arabic. And you know, and then I had particular scholars that I would listen to, especially Rahmatullah alayhi Sayyid Muhammad Rida Shirazi, because he used to speak slow. So and you know, and my Arabic wasn't strong, so I listened to him, and then yeah, and so slowly I started. So I was kind of like, you know, told to go and sit and give these speeches, and then we like have, you know, I would tell the families like, I'm giving English speeches. Do you mind dropping off your kids? We hadn't built the mosque yet. The place where we are now is a beautiful mosque. Inshallah, he's come to Wollongong, you see it. We have a lot of famous people that are, you know, that come, you know, especially Sayyid Hadi Mudarrisi, you know, a lot of other ulama, Sheikh Abdul Karim Al-Ha'iri, they've all come to this beautiful mosque. And then slowly I started to give speeches. And then, you know, you started slowly getting more confident, and help from here, help from there, until a point that I decided to go to the Hawza. And by then I was married, already had children. This was like several years later. So even then, my parents, even up this stage, my parents weren't really with me. You know, alhamdulillah, I have a very devoted and loving wife that has stood with me from day one, when everyone was against me, everyone. So I went to the Hawza in Karbala. There was a Hawza al-Hujjah for the Sayyid Muhammad Taqi, and I studied there. But before then, I was always studying. I was always learning from this scholar, from that scholar, from the Mudarrisis. I have another teacher called Sayyid Ali Radawi, Samahat Sayyid Ali Radawi. He's also a great scholar. And even here, you know, I got people like Sayyid Ahmad Qazwini that I'm very close to, and yeah, and so that inspired me. And yeah, as you all know, I had to balance between my work life, and of course, I work full time. I work full time at Australia's biggest steel company. I'm a metallurgist, as these all know. Basically, I'm a chef of steel making. Just like I'm very bad in the kitchen, believe me. Probably to cook a couple of eggs, I wouldn't do it. But when it comes to making, like I said, على اللهجة اللبنانية الطبخة, the cooking for steel, I've got everything up here for the ingredients to make every single steel possible in the world, and how to do it. So, yeah, we're safe. Yep.
Were you born in Lebanon or in Australia?
No, I was actually born in that area in Wollongong.
Where?
It's a place near Sydney. So I was born in Australia.
Born in Australia?
Yeah, I was born in Australia. So
did you go back and forth?
yes, we used to go back and forth to Lebanon. Unfortunately now, as you know, after the war, we lost everything. Yeah, I lost between my wife and my own family close to 36 members.
Wow.
Yeah, some of them we didn't even get their bodies back. So Allah yarham amwatkum jami'an. And of course, you know, our village, more than 90% of it is demolished. So I still have that connection, subhanAllah, with my heritage of South Lebanon, but also I have a lot of respect for my mother, you can say, land, which is Australia. So there's a lot of things that growing up in Australia that I learnt that made me the person that I am today, especially when I grew up being the oldest son out of 4 kids. We were 4, and I lost my young brother Ali to cancer at the age of 29. So it was very sad. But when I grew up, my parents couldn't, as you know, couldn't speak English properly, so going to school was hard. I never had anyone to look up to. Racism was very high.
Yeah.
Especially where I lived, racism was very, very high. To the point, even though I laugh about it, I got to a stage where, that everyone wanted to fight the ethnic. So I would have like a diary to book people in. Okay, Steve, I can fit you in Wednesday afternoon. Is that okay? What about you, Darren? Thursday afternoon, is that okay? So everyone wanted to fight me, So, but this actually made me stronger. This made me stronger. And why you can say I kept you can say that bit where I'm still the mentally brave is that there was other kids in my neighborhood that were like me. And so every afternoon we'd meet together. The kids from the neighborhood, this guy was Greek, this guy was Chilean, this guy was Spanish. And we would forget the worldly troubles and play hide and seek, all these kids' things that used to play. And that was my relief thing. Like when I think about it sometimes, it was like my way of getting over depression with my friends. And so, that was it.
Question for you. So you mentioned that you dealt with racism, I guess, and Islamophobia.
Yeah.
What are some maybe tips and tricks? So obviously we deal with that here too. For the younger ones, how would you say we should deal with that? How can we not let it affect us as much?
Yeah. So I wish I knew, I wish the stuff that I knew now would have helped me a lot more when I was younger, like in terms of my religion, in terms of the way I would deal with people. It wouldn't have to be violence all the time, because remember, most people that are racist, they're racist out of ignorance. And we use that verse today, وَعَبَادَ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشَوْنَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. That if these people that are, we walk with humbleness, and if ignorant people talk to us, we talk to them back in a peaceful manner, because that child that's racist, he would have to get that thought from somewhere, either the news, either the parents. So, but you have knowledge about your faith, about that tick to tack, because you can always use reverse psychology to people. If he's saying something, say to him, maybe, I think maybe you've understood something that's wrong. Let me explain it further. Basically, the way I dealt with racism back then is through my friends. But the way you deal with it is to make yourself strong and familiarized with the knowledge of the Quran and Ahl al-Bayt. And also, I remember there was a guy called Ahmad Didat, if you remember, before we used to get, before the debating between a Muslim, this Muslim Shia Sunni thing, it was mainly between Muslim and Christianity. So I would read up all these books about about the Bible, and then Ahmad Didat had these books, and he would point out these things that the Holy Prophet was mentioned in their books. And I remember I still actually got these 2 books still at home, Volume 1 and Volume 2. They were small books, and I tried to memorize it, and I actually wanted someone to come from them so I can debate about them and show them that, in your book, you say this. In your book, for instance, in I think it was John 1:22, you talk about, the pig, and then Jesus says, and that of the swine meat you should not eat, and carcass you do not touch. He says that you can't even touch the carcass of a swine, which is a pig. This is in your book.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah. So the book, the book talks about, for instance, like their book talks about that from the seed of Ishmael, there'll be 12 princes. Like this is in their books. Like sometimes when all these things, knowledge, that's why I said knowledge is power. You don't have to fight with this physicality stuff. You know, these ignorant people that are come and they're trying to bring up your testimony of anger. This is where you stop. And like I said, remember that verse we talked about, it says, if you come across any type of force, stop. Remember God Almighty so that you can be successful. Your remembrance, your attachment to God, your attachment to Ahlul Bayt will make you stronger. It's your faith. This courage and the way you speak, when God, believe me. And you know, astaghfirullah from the word ana, me. I look at myself how I was like even 10 years ago, and sometimes you think about how the words flow out of your mouth and where you get the examples and that. It's not from me. It's not from me. You put the steps in, God will give that nur to you to make you defend any situation. So it's up to the individual themselves to better themselves in their faith, in their knowledge, and that will help them overcome anything, oppression, racism, injustice, and so forth.
What's your favorite verse in the Quran?
My favorite verse, I think I used it the other day. قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. That's my favorite verse. That everything for me, oh God, is for you. You know? So, because this really explains my purpose here. You know, if I'm not here for my servitude to God Almighty first, and then to the community, to the people, I have it's no purpose here. It's trying to chase worldly things that give you this temporary happiness. That's probably my favorite verse. Yeah.
So building off the brother's question, what are some ways we can live by or embody the Quran during the month of Ramadan?
What are ways that we can embody there and live through the Quran? I know there's always this rush to read the Quran, but which is good, but remember at-tafakkur sa'a, it's better than worship of 70 years. You know, it's not about connect to the Quran, but sometimes the way you look at the Quran and to make it part of your daily life is to, you can say, not go overboard. Like, it's not about this quick reading. It's about reading and understanding. Because you're not going to understand. You're not going to. It's just like, when you go to first school and they teach you like the alphabet. Why the hell do I need the alphabet for? Why do I need algebra for? Which I hate. Why do I need physics? Why do I need this? But slowly you find that these are implemented. Later on, you comes to understanding. So when you look at the Quran, like for instance, I start, like when you look at the Quran, the surah, like where did the surah come from? Why was it brought down for? The other time I was telling like people like Ashab al-Ukhlud, who are these? There's something, when I say, I'll give you an example. When I say Ismail, what comes to your mind? Yeah, okay. But then if I say to you, in Surah Maryam, where God says, وَأُذْكُرُ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِسْمَاعِيل إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَادِقَ الْوَعْدِ وَكَانَ رَسُولًا نَبِيًّا. Which Ismail is this? It's not Ismail that they... of course, yeah, it's Ismail ibn Haskil, according to Imam Rudha alayhi salam. According to Ahlul Bayt, yeah. So it's a different Ismail. So sometimes your like thinking when it comes to the ayat, like sometimes you come across, why did God use this word here? Why did God use this word there? Why did He describe it in this manner? Like even small things. When God says tadabbur, pondering, أَفَيَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبْلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ, for instance, why would God want me to look at a camel? What's that? Where am I today? And where's the camel? But then I go back and I see Allahu Akbar. He's given me this like just a bit of an aim and a method to say, okay, just go and look at the miracle of the camel. The way it's designed, you know, the eye, from its eyes, from its hooves, like it's made for this condition. So, and then when I look at it, okay, it's talking about if the animal is made for this condition, then what kind of condition am I made for? Yeah, so to implement Quran, yeah, it's just to stick with it. Like 1 page a day. 1 page a day if you can't do page a day. And I'm, brothers and sisters, please, I'm talking to myself here because sometimes I go for this period that the Quran sits there and I don't get attracted to it. But what I find, there's a app on your phone, it's called Quran Hadi. Oh yeah, have you got it? Yeah. And every day it sends to you a verse from the Quran. So I found it very beneficial. What it does, it sends you the verse, open up the verse, read it, and then hit it and look at the tafsir. You know how much one verse a day, but at least that verse you go, you know what, I learned something new today. Wow, the tafsir, is that what the Imam meant on this verse? And then you're not pounding yourself. And there's another one that does the same thing with connecting you to the hadith. It sends you hadith every day. So every day you're getting a verse from the Quran and you're getting a hadith from the Quran. So you're connecting yourself. Because these, honestly, with anything, they can be used for the good purpose and they can be used for, God forbid, for negative things. So we're trying to use it and implement it to something that is beneficial to us. And yeah, so that's if that. Ahsanallah.
I'm going to do an intermission, technical difficulties. I'm going to
Sorry.
switch this out. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli.
What you were brought up as a lot of us can relate to.
Yes, yeah.
When I first came to this country,
Yeah.
back then the community wasn't large as it is now.
Of course, yeah.
We were dealing with a lot of
Racism, yeah.
stuff, and we were what you could say lost because we didn't have connection to our homes back there because phones weren't available, internet wasn't in, TVs, satellite wasn't available. So you figured you come here and that's it. You just totally forget about them.
Yep.
And people would stay here for years and years and years and never go back.
Yep.
And then they get melted into this whole society, and then they get
Subhanallah, yeah. So true.
But then what I've noticed in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, the community have gotten stronger.
Yeah.
More have come, more are learning more.
Exactly.
Everything is available.
Ahsan. Testing. Testing 1, 2. All right. Should be good. We haven't got any questions from the sisters. We'll always.
If anyone on this side has any questions, Sayyed would take it.
This question online says, what's the best deed in this month?
Al-wara' min maharimillah. That's a very good question, but that's a very quick question. Yeah. So just to abstain from any type of sin, like the Sheikh pointed out today. To make sure that the fasting is not just that of the badan, it's of your eyes, your ears, your tongue, the emotional factor of it. And subhanAllah, it's when you think about it, God knows, of course, God knows His creation. He's the engineer of us, and He knows that He's just giving you this month here. For the whole of the year, you've been bombarded by all these worldly aspects, and just to hopefully, cleanse yourself.
Brothers, sisters, questions for the day? Nothing? Are we all? No questions?
Any question?
Yep.
What was it like going to school and living back then? What was
going on? Going. He just said to me, probably much. I kind of answered it a little bit, but just going back to. He just asked me, the young brother, about going back to school. and how it was back then. It was very hard in terms as well, not just the condition, but remember back then, it was very hard in my area to even find halal food. So my father was one of the first people to actually go and slaughter halal meat in between Wollongong and Sydney, and some of the butchers in Sydney, which is an hour, they would call my father up, and I still remember as a young child going to the slaughterhouse, and watching this sight of my father and this other man, rahmatullah, this other person who passed away. They would slaughter because so we'd it was home stuff. So going to school, it was basically whatever few people I were kind of like with me that were from ethnical background. Back then you had I think the Yugoslavian, was now I know they separated, but
Kosovo and
before it was back then Yugoslavia and so Yugoslavian, Greek, Spanish. Like I said, there was a few Lebanese people, but yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Any other questions? I see the sisters are very shy.
I'll ask a question. So for the younger generation that's here right now, they go through like a lot of trials and tribulations on a daily basis, whether it be school or day-to-day life, friends. What advice do you have for them to stay steadfast in, the path of the Ahlul Bayt, and making sure that, they grow up to be individuals that one day, they will also have kids as well, and they want to make sure that they don't lose that?
Yeah, okay. Since you brought that up, and sometimes when you say something, it just triggers something in my back of my mind. It's to know, basically we have to instill the value of who they are. And you remind me of a story when this father was just about to die. He said to his son, take this watch and go and sell it, or go and ask for the price of it in 3 different places. So, but don't sell it, just go there. So first he went down to the local, it was like the markets they would have on the weekend, and the guy looked at it, he said to him, I'll give you $100 for it. And then he said, okay, Dad, he's going to give me $100, so I sell it. He goes, no, don't sell it. Then he said, go to the pawn shop and ask him how much he'd buy it off you. So the other guy did a bit more investigation. He said, I'll give you $500 for it. He said, Dad, $500 for this watch, He said, no. Then he goes, go to the local museum and ask how much this watch is worth. So he went to the museum, and then the guy looked at it and he started calling everyone over. And they're all fascinated and they're smiling. They said to him, we'll give you $50,000 for this watch. And if you don't want to sell it, we can just have it in the museum here and we'll give you a rent, everything. He could not believe it. This thing, he said, Dad, I don't understand. He says, look, when you want to know the true value of yourself, you got to go to those people that know the true value of what you are. When you know the true value of yourself and instill it into you, and then instill into that person, then being brought up in a society, everyone's going to be judging you. Everyone's going to be looking at you in a different manner and putting like a price on you and so forth. But once a child knows the value of who he is, through connection of the Quran, through the connection of Ahlul Bayt, then he doesn't care about what the people are. He knows that he's got something valuable. By coming to the centers, by the people he hangs around with. Once you instill the value of the faith inside that person, then everything else is going to become. I'm not saying that life's not going to be easy. Life wasn't meant to be, especially for a Mawali of Ahlul Bayt. But I'm saying that when you're moving along this path, it becomes a path much easier to overcome because you know your value here. You know what you stand for. When Luqman, for instance, he tells him, he says, you don't care what the people think about. When he took his son, he's trying to tell his son, for instance, they had a donkey and they went to the first village and the son was on the donkey. And then the people, when he went to the first village, the people said, look at this, how disrespectful. That young boy is on the donkey and his father's walking alongside him. How disrespectful, what kind of child is that? He said, did you hear what they said? He said, okay. They went to the next village. This time they swapped. The father was on the donkey and the child was walking. They get to the next village, the people say, oh my God, how disrespectful. Look at, doesn't he feel sorry for his son? He's on the donkey and and the son's walking to him. Then what they did, they went to the next village, they were both on the donkey. Huh? And then people say, and they, you know, by then the donkey looks tired, and he goes, oh my God, look how disrespectful that, the animal cruelty. Look at that donkey, it's got the weight of the man and the child on it. Then they went to the last village, just carrying, you know, like dragging the donkey along, and the people said to him, look how stupid these people are. They've got a donkey, they're not even riding it. So what is it? The purpose is that, you know, the Quran says that the problem with us, that we are trying to please Bani Adam and not please God. And the Quran mentions this. The Quran says, يَسْتَخْفُونَ مِنَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يَسْتَخْفُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ. So the fact is, when you can put, again, the value of who you are within these people, then that's it. They'll slowly be overcome these obstacles.
Brothers and sisters, questions? We'll take one final question for Sayyid. Who's going to be the lucky person?
Yeah, sorry.
Why is the Quran not in chronological order?
Why is it? What do you mean chronological order?
Like the first verse sent down to Prophet Muhammad was
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So why was it not like? Why was that not the order from the Quran? Like why do we have Fatiha as the opening surah?
Yeah. Hala, the way it's, you know, of course, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali bin Abi Talib, it's not what people think. Ali bin Abi Talib put the Quran together. You know, and Amir al-Mu'mineen is the nafs of Rasulullah. But the way the Quran came down, hala, the Fatiha is something, it's called, of course, as its name, Fatihat al-Kitab, you know, the open up of the book. So that's why it's known that the Fatiha is there, because you're opening up a book, you know, like a door. So, but then the wisdom behind each surah is, the factor is that, for instance, the most mentioned prophet in the Quran is, of course, who? Moses. Huh? A lot of the story that's connected with Moses, the whole chapter of Surah Al-Baqarah is what is attributed to mainly Musa, and the incidents about Musa, and then, you know, the person that was killed, and then bringing back the dead cow back to life, and that. But the Quran was brought down in the interval. So it was brought down once, as we know, on the day of Rajab, when the Mab'ath al-Rasul, and then it was brought down bit by bit according to the what happened in the occasion, you know. So, like, for instance, like, you know, when they had to remind people of the story of Ashab al-Fil, for instance, you know, then that verse was brought down. When they left Medina, a verse was brought down. When Imam Ali alayhi salam slept in the bed of the Holy Prophet, when he sold his nafs, a verse was brought down. The famous verse, like, say, for every occasion, the verses were brought down. There's what we call hikmah, wisdom, in the way that they've been put in order. For that needs another discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you feel like something is being repeated.
Yeah.
Over and over during these surahs, and you tell yourself, I felt like I read this before, and then it's here again. And then sometimes you read something, let's say you read the Quran several times, and you say, oh wow, it's like this is the first time I read this.
Yes, yeah. You know, it's true, because and you know what God is trying to do in the Quran is this repetitive manner, is that, like, you know how many times the Quran talks about mathal, you know, for the people of Thamud, for instance. وَأَرْسَلْنَا إِلَى ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحٌ. You know, how many times the story of Salih is mentioned in the Quran, or which is Thamud, of course, and then you got the story of Ashab of Had, for instance, you know, Hud. These things are repetitive, but then sometimes, instead of giving you the whole story, this is how beautiful the Quran is. Instead of giving you like a whole story in one go, because really when you think about it, the only one that's in whole go is Surah Yusuf. But the other ones, they're just everywhere. Like, but there's, and then if you look at the verses before him and after him, it fits him. You know, God's trying to get this message through, and then he goes, okay, remind you of what happened to these people. Like for instance, how many people read Surah Al-Shams, when God says, فَعَقَرُوهَا, is this singular or plural? Plural, yeah, okay. فَعَقَرُوهَا. But if you go to our translation, do you know how many people killed the actual Naqa of Salih? One person. His name's Qaidar or Qadir. But why is God using the word plural here? فَعَقَرُوهَا فَدَمْدَمْ عَلَيْهِ رَبِّهِمْ. You know? Why? Because God's making you think that, okay, but if you look into the story, because they knew he was going to do it, no one stopped him, and then they participated in the eating of the meat, even though he killed it. So this is an indication of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy al Munkar. So one word, and then you go, hold on a sec, this woke me up. So that, okay, God say, yeah, you're involved in here. It's just the same when God talks about Shu'aib. He goes to Shu'aib that, oh Shu'aib, I'm going to punish 60,000 or 40,000 of your servants because they went against you, and 60,000 from the good one. God Almighty. 40,000 I understand, but why 60,000? Because those 60,000 saw the 40,000 doing something wrong and they didn't do anything about it. So when you look at the Quran, and you find these words, and you got to understand the powerful meaning. I always tell people, for instance, going back to Surah Maryam, just one quick example. This is very good. Surah Maryam, I call it the Surah of Akhlaq. Say, what do you mean, a Surah of Akhlaq? It's about Maryam. I said, have you really read it? I said to him, how many times does God introduce the prophets in that surah, and he always puts the sifa, the characteristics of akhlaq before that of the nabuwa. وَأُذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَادِقَ الْوَعْدِ وَكَانَ رَسُولًا نَبِيًّا. I might have got the verse wrong, but it says كَانَ صَدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. First he was a صديقا, meaning like truthful. وَأُذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَثَلْ مُوسَى إِنَّهُ كَانَ مُخْلِصًا. And then he tells him he was sincere. Then he tells him he was a prophet. وَأُذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِدْرِيسَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَدِّيقًا. And then he tells him that he's a prophet. And then this one, what we mentioned before, وَأُذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِسْمَعِيلَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صَادِقَ الْوَعْدِ. He was truthful in his promise. Then he was a prophet and a messenger. Can you see the pattern? How many times have we read this? And we probably missed this. That God's put in the sifa, the characteristic of akhlaq, before that of nabuwa. But when it comes to our prophet, he says what? وَإِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلْقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Ahsan. So what he does when he talks about our prophet, he sums him up everything, azim, that every sublime morality is in you, Ya Rasulullah.
Yeah. We did have a question from one of the sisters, sorry, fiqh question. In terms of if a brother is praying, firstly, are women allowed to sit in front of him anywhere?
No.
Then secondly, are they allowed to pray in front? Now let's say we're in the masjid there. You have a lot of space.
Yep.
But brother's praying in the back for whatever reason. Can the women sit in front? And then secondly, can they pray in front?
Okay. Now that's a very good question. So first of all, the person that is praying first has the right. You know what I'm saying? So basically, if a lady, pretend the lady's praying, and a person walks in, she has authority over. He can't pray behind her. He's got to go, as you know, because the factors are from behind and that. So, and the same thing. If the male was praying, and she came in, he gets authority over her. I'm not saying that she can't. With the male, it's a bit more different, you know. But according to Sayyid Sistani, there has to be a distance. The distance of like a kind of like say.
10 yards?
It's about 10 yards, yeah. So, but it's different when, like for instance, it's when a husband and wife, for instance, like even though she's my wife, if my wife is praying and I come in, I can't pray behind her, I can't pray behind her, and go and jump in front of her. I can't do that. So I have to find another position, even another position, so it doesn't like overdo her or like stop her. It becomes the salah becomes batil. So there is that factor of when it comes to respecting, according to our fuqaha, that one oversides the other. So if I walk into a mosque now, same thing, walk into a mosque, and usually in the mosque there's always going to be a women's section and a men's section, separate anyway. But I'm just talking about in general a room. If a lady is praying there, that's it. She gets the priority of that. You go and find someone else to pray. And
So you can't. Can you go in front of her and pray? Not like direct, like a couple rows ahead and pray.
What it is no, you can't. No.
You have to cross paths with her. You walk from the side.
Yeah.
You pray in front.
You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Yeah. You shouldn't do that. If it's a fair distance where maybe there's a fair distance where there is no recognition, then that's probably a difference. I'll have to check it up, but I know that you shouldn't go in front of her and just start praying. It was distraction, but also the fact is doesn't matter. The fact is that you're a male now in front of her. It's different. Like I said, even if a husband does it in front of the wife, his salat becomes batil. So she gets authority over him because she was there praying first. You pray behind her.
As long as the distance.
As long as the distance is there, yeah.
Any last questions from him? Yes, brother.
What is the meaning of Surah Al-Fatiha?
Fatiha means the opening of the book. So just like it's opening. We also got it's also known as the mother of the book. Some even though like they refer to Ali Yasin, but it's also in some narrations it's the heart of the Quran. Some have referred to Ali Yasin, but some also have referred to the opening. Like when you read it, when you're reading it, you're recognizing in the merciful God Almighty. You're thanking Him. It's like a dua. But of course, we don't want to put Ameen at the end of it. But you're telling God, basically, this is the way I want to be. This is the road I want to be. Not on that road, and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. We appreciate you. If I
sorry.
can take over. Thank you, Sayyidina. Just a couple announcements before we end off tonight's program. We have, inshallah, in the next couple of weeks, we do have a couple more suhoor with the scholars, so do look at our social media for that. Every night we have a youth kids program, concurrently with the programs in the masjid. Starting tomorrow, inshallah, the programs begin at 9:30 p.m. Dua iftidah due to the time change. The English lecture will begin, inshallah, with Sayyed Fadhel at 10 p.m. Every day we have a Quran Khatmiyah, 6 to 7 p.m. Inshallah, online you can follow us with that. And with that being said, we will say a salawat and a fatiha for all of these sponsors. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Brothers and sisters, please help yourself to the suhoor over there. We have a wide variety of condiments and dishes, so please help yourself to
Contact
that.
you from here to Australia to come here? They
They did, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.